Hey, this is James Pelton, and I'm doing a video on JennyCo, which is part of the Constellation ecosystem. I don't think a lot of people realize, but we're sitting on a payload of information, a payload of money, and that money is our data. And in particular, our healthcare data. I don't know if you realize this, but on a daily basis, 1/3 of all the world's generated data, which is 400 exabytes, is healthcare related. And an exabyte is 1 billion gigabytes. Okay, so 401 billion gigabytes worth of data is healthcare related and is being transferred around. And there's a lot of big players that want this healthcare data. So the government, pharmacies, big pharma, laboratories, research centers, insurance companies, they all want healthcare data so that they can make more money and they can make decisions for their business. And most of these companies are willing to pay for this data, which means that you have something of value that people are willing to pay for. And there's companies right now that profit off of your data. I used to work for Gallup. We would do surveys and people would pay money for that data. If you ever do those take-home genealogy tests, that data is sold out. That's data people want that people are willing to pay for. So what JennyCo is trying to do is they are becoming a marketplace for your data. So they are wanting to connect you who has the data with people who want to buy the data and then give you rewards for sharing your healthcare data with these companies. So you do some surveys, you take some DNA tests, that data is put up in the blockchain on the Constellation network. So it's decentralized. It's not owned by anyone. So it's not like JennyCo owns your data and can look through it, do whatever they want with it. It's decentralized up on the blockchain. And then you have the option to sell that data to different companies needing data for different purposes, and you receive rewards for the data that you share. So really, it's good for you. You make money. It's good for these companies that need data because now they have a legal way to get it that is, it's going to be reliable. So really, it's a win-win situation. And when we talk about how much your data is worth, from talking with the JennyCo team, and I have an AMA that I did with Jenny and Mike, the kind of the co-founders of JennyCo, but they estimate that your healthcare data is worth between $1,500 to $5,000 per year. Okay, so that's a lot of money that could be coming to you for you just sharing data out. So again, I have an AMA with the team. If you're wanting to get involved, the best way, so an MVP for kind of the app and for getting started is going to be coming here in October or maybe early November. For now, the best way you can get involved is follow them on Twitter, join their Telegram. Down here, they have a newsletter that you can sign up where they'll keep you updated, but just be part of the ecosystem so that when it's ready to go, you can be in early. So here's my AMA with Jenny and Mike from the JennyCo team. Stay tuned to the end. I'm going to talk a little bit about a giveaway. We're giving away some NFTs from JennyCo, and these NFTs are going to provide some JCO coins as reward. And you're also going to get a free DNA test with this. So stay tuned for the end. I'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, enjoy this AMA with Jenny and Mike from JennyCo. All right, this is James Pelton, and I'm here with Michael and Jenny from JennyCo, and this is a project, I love the Constellation Network, and I've had pretty much all the major Constellation Network teams on, and JennyCo is kind of the last one that I'm getting to here. So really excited to have you two. Could you start off briefly by just kind of introducing yourself and give a little bit of your background?
Sure. Jenny Diggles. I am co-founder and on the board here, live in Denver, Colorado. And my background has been in building businesses in emerging marketplaces, usually in areas where it's very gray, there's not a lot of black and white, and that's when I get the most excited.
I'm Michael Nova, and I'm the co-founder with Jenny of JennyCo, and I live in San Diego. And my background is I'm a physician, but really came out of the computer science industry. Never really practiced. They just started putting companies together, and JennyCo is by far the one that has the biggest scale. So we're really excited about it.
And then, not to get ahead of myself, but could you give maybe just an elevator pitch of what exactly you guys are trying to do with JennyCo?
Do you want to do it this time or do you want me to do it, Michael?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'll do it this time. The elevator pitch is, as you mentioned, people don't realize that they have something that is of value, intrinsically of value, and they're generating information or data on a daily basis. And there's value in that information or data, whatever you want to call it. And it just so happens that the healthcare data or data around wellness and healthcare data can mean a lot of things. It can mean exercise, it can mean what you eat, it can mean what drugs you're on, it can mean if you had a procedure done, heart rate, blood pressure. That's absolutely the most valuable data that's available. As an example, I think on a day, something like on a daily basis, there's, I think, 13 exabytes and a third every day, and a third of that is healthcare data. It's just a huge amount of data, and it's basically stuff that you're generating, so it's basically yours. But at this point, you as an individual don't get value out of it. The only people that get value out of it are large companies and other groups that end up mining it and looking at it for their own business purposes. So we figured out that, look, why don't we bring the user into this loop and bring the user with their personal assets, which is their healthcare data, and find a way that we could potentially reward them for generating this data, and then also use that data to make recommendations back to the user. Maybe you should eat this instead of that. So this whole personalization thing is really important for us. And that's also important for all the large corporations across many different industries. They're all about personalizing their products. And so they're all interested in getting really good data about you, the individual, and then potentially marketing products to you. And so it's a two-sided coin. We figured out that we want to put the user in charge, make the data really secure and portable, and you can move it any place you want very easily.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think there's a little bit of a disconnect from normal people to these big businesses because I don't think we view our healthcare data as that valuable. Can you talk about why big businesses and why people want that data? And then can you talk a little bit about how much that data is worth to these big companies?
Yeah, Jenny, you want to go on, or I'll do it. But yeah, you're right. Individuals don't realize that they're walking around with something of value, and it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, whatever. You have something of value, and you're not really monetizing it. The large companies, by and large, every large company, whether it's a tech company or a pharma company or an insurance company, is out mining data. They're taking data from different sources and mining it and trying to look for things that they can use that data for to push their products, either push their products or develop new products. And they're getting, all these companies are getting pulled by customers, which is you, me, anybody, a customer, to give personalized products back to the user, whether it's a drug that supposedly works or a diet or a cosmetic cream or whatever. The user is starting to demand and has been demanding for years that I want stuff that's going to work for me. I don't want to buy stuff that's not going to work. And so the only way, for these companies to be able to do that is to get information about you. And it just so happens that your healthcare data and healthcare and wellness, and that's the business that we're in, is super valuable. A genetic test plus an electronic healthcare record for an individual user is worth potentially up to $5,000 right there on the. And you could potentially get involved with us, and we'd help you monetize that across many different types of businesses. It's not just a one-shot kind of thing. The grinding through any kind of data is the name of the game for just about any large business in any large industry you can think of, whether it's insurance, pharma, tech, consumer products, food. Everybody's doing it.
Can you talk about where do these big companies get the data now? Do they do surveys? How do
They
they
just
get the
kind
data?
of meander around and pull things from here and there. And healthcare data is not that easy to potentially get for these companies. They try to get some of it. Insurance companies indefinitely are involved in mining the healthcare data that they get. But let's say a company like Google comes in, they're not going to get necessarily an insurance record unless they do a deal with some insurance company, right? And when it really comes down to it, in health, again, healthcare is the biggest data sink, the biggest single generator of any business. And so they're all interested in potentially getting in more granular information about you, what you like to eat, what exercise you do, what your blood pressure was today, and what you ate, so we can potentially make these recommendations. And the only way to do it really is to have a platform, which we're putting together, which collects all this stuff, curates it, which means we take out the trash and we make sure that the data is reliable and means something. And then there's outcome data. Outcome data is really huge for the pharma industry and for a lot of wellness companies, because Basically, it's did the drug work? Did the food, did you lose weight on this? Did the cosmetic give you less wrinkles or whatever? So outcome data in healthcare is really super important. So we're also interested in getting the docs involved with us because the docs have a lot of specialized outcome data in their individual practices. That's all really useful for us too. And so we want this community of the users plus the docs contributing to this big data sink that we're building.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
And then
just want
this
to add
might,
one more
no, go
thing.
ahead. Go ahead, Jenny.
One other area where that data is coming from is when people take ancestry type tests, whether it's like a 23andMe or Ancestry. So that information is largely getting sold, which is why those companies have large valuations. The cost of those tests that they're selling are pretty much the cost that it costs them to run. So the data is the most important thing. So the more people's data they can get, the more money that entity is worth. But the individual isn't getting any of that revenue share out of it.
Okay. Yeah. No, totally see that. And so this might be a big question. So I'll just ask it, throw the grenade out there, and then I'll just back off and then let you guys answer that. How exactly does this work from a user perspective? Like, are they doing a survey and a genetic test? And then is that data then put on the blockchain? And then along with that, are pharmacies looking to get that information, insurance companies? And then how are you rewarding people? So maybe just the whole thing. How does it all work?
You pretty much nailed it. And so the only thing is, yes, we are rewarding people. But the way it works is we have an app that we're developing that will ask them a very simple survey up front, start to collect some basic data around them, and starts rewarding the user with JennyCo tokens. And then as they upload, whether it's genetic tests, blood tests, like we'll have a whole area where people can purchase a variety of different sorts of tests that they, allergy, food tests, you name it. And then that data can be uploaded into the blockchain, making it secure, giving them ownership over it. And with that, then they can start to lease it out with HIPAA compliance, fully anonymously, and they can start to reap rewards again through JennyCo tokens. So on the other side, we have the buyer side, the groups that do want this data. And Dr. Nova has worked with these groups for years. And they've been doing this already, looking for this sort of information. So for us to be able to offer to people, hey, get really great insights on yourself and then add some more information, it becomes a very valuable data set to those buyers. And so we want to keep this to be like the most fresh, relevant data set. But the other big piece of it is that even if somebody didn't want to share it or lease it with any other entity, they can still securely put their information on the blockchain. And then we start to use AI to give them back very personal insights into their health and recommendations of what they should do or eat or pharmaceuticals to avoid, you name it. So there's then that sort of reward as well. And we want to reward people for making better decisions about their health and wellness. And so within that, there's compensation opportunity as well.
That's very cool.
I think in a nutshell that basically all your healthcare basically comes down to two big chunks of information. One is around your individual genetics and what that means, and then one around your lifestyle. Right? And lifestyle is, do you smoke, do you drink, do you exercise, do you X, Y, and Z. So lifestyle is about 60% of all healthcare outcomes, and genetics is about 30 to 40%. So those two together determine basically what's going on, not only going on in your body, but what we can potentially act on. And changing lifestyle is hard. It's hard to lose weight. It's hard to, and obesity is an enormous problem in the US, no pun intended, but it leads to type 2 diabetes, it leads to cancer, it leads to cardiovascular disease. Almost all of it to some extent is preventable, right? So if you can move the dial on lifestyle, even though your genetics are immutable, if you can move the dial on lifestyle, get them to change a little bit, you potentially could really impact from a public health standard, all these kind of chronic disease issues. And really, when it really comes down to it, the best motivator to get people to move that dial, to change their lifestyle is some sort of compensation that is really real compensation, not like frequent flyer miles or something like that, but something that, really that people can use on a daily basis. And that's kind of what we're about.
Yeah, I love that.
We're a public health company trying to get people to move the dial by bribing them.
Yeah, no, I love that. This kind of seems like a win situation. Going into this, I thought, oh, maybe they're going after the big pharmaceutical companies and things like that. But actually, this is good for the user, and it's actually probably good for them too, because they can get better data and people get compensated for it. So,
the most important thing, the individual user is the most important piece of this company. basically. We're all about giving the user, as Jenny mentioned, really high quality recommendations about certain things, and then also the compensation part of it.
Yeah, could you talk a little? So my channel is mostly like a passive income channel. Okay. So could you talk about maybe the potential? And I know you might not be able to give exact figures for everything, but just to give people an idea of, hey, here's the potential that you could make with JennyCo.
There is potential. If you read our white paper, we put out numbers on the number of tokens we're going to have out eventually. And, depending on the price of the token, and it's basically and how much reward the user has got, whether they've staked or not. In one of our little micro groups, maybe they're in an arthritis group and they're staking, they're going to get rewarded on a percent basis, tokens for a certain amount of time. Maybe they're involved with some pharma group. You could make a lot of passive income basically doing nothing, just giving us a little bit of data or a lot of data, and then letting the system kind of work for you. The DAO, the state channels in the system, and the micro DAOs around, again, arthritis or obesity or whatever, the group that you're interested in. So the potential is a lot.
It could be a lot. Yeah. And I know your group probably wants to hear some actual numbers because that matters. So we've really been trying to figure out what it is. And while we can't say for sure until we really get this model and the flywheel going, it does seem reasonable that a person's data could be worth $1,000 to $5,000 a year, depending on the activities they're doing. On extreme ends, we've heard situations where individual medical records have been purchased for $30,000, and there's crazy potential. So we'll see, but we do feel like it will generate revenue for people, and especially the more they engage with the system, the more the rewards essentially stack up.
Okay, nope, that's super helpful. That's what I imagined the answer would be. Is it's hard to exactly gauge, but some ballpark ones that was good. That was helpful. Do you guys worry about any regulatory issues? I don't know, how close are you working with legislate? Are politicians, are they okay with this, or what are your thoughts on that going forward?
Yeah, healthcare is both of us come out of the healthcare business. The healthcare business is the most not overrun, but the most regulated business that there is. And so from compliance to de-identified HIPAA data to, we've been in contact recently with ethicists that are interested in working with us to make sure there's diversity, that you're dealing with certain groups that have different requirements for healthcare. We're well aware of all the regulations. We're basically going, at least starting off, we're basically going to be the first really HIPAA compliant blockchain system in place at a minimum. HIPAA compliance is a big deal, all up and down the chain and in storage as well. And that's out there. There isn't anything like that really out there. And to protect ourselves, we have filed intellectual property, and we're constantly monitoring what's going on with the SEC. But that's basically on the crypto side, not necessarily on the healthcare side. And then a big thing that we're going to have in place too is a doctor's network with physicians, that if you need a physician, or we recommend you going and talking to somebody with telemedicine, that group is involved with us. What that does from like a legal stand, it gets professionals involved potentially with you, the user, and that mitigates a lot of the potential liability, at least from a liability standpoint, that might be there. As an example, we would never in the app say, take this drug instead of that. We would say, you might have efficacy here with this drug rather than that one. Call your physician. Here's a physician you want to talk to him. He'll talk to you about it. So there is a lot of it is how you say things and how you present things from a healthcare standpoint, and what you're presenting. Drugs and surgeries and that kind of stuff are a little up the food chain in terms of you have to be careful with. Recommending somebody broccoli instead of Brussels sprouts, I don't think the FDA really cares about that too much.
Yeah, if you were to ask me, hey, what are the two most complicated regulatory things to navigate, I'd probably say crypto and healthcare. You're combining them together, so
why not?
We're trying to cut through that chaff.
Yeah, better you than
Still
me.
follow the
I'm
rules. Follow the rules. We're not trying to take any shortcuts.
Nope,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Do you want to just talk briefly about how secure the data is? You mentioned HIPAA compliant. Again, that's a part of the beauty of the Constellation network and all that. Do you want to just briefly talk about if people are concerned about, hey, my data, I don't want it up on the blockchain, it's going to get stolen or something like that. You want to talk about that?
Sure. So it can't get stolen through the blockchain. One of the reasons why we're doing it in this format is because once people only go through a centralized system, even if they say they want to delete their data, so what? That database could make a copy of their stuff. So it becomes somewhat precarious if people are only going in that route. But by allowing people to put their information on the blockchain and they own that piece of information, the minute they say they don't want it out there anymore, it's deleted everywhere, absolutely everywhere. It just pulls it back immediately. So it doesn't require some sort of phone tree and a customer service team to get your stuff deleted. Or even in the case when I was deleting like Facebook, how many, like they make you wait like a month or two before they actually delete it. Like I couldn't believe that. In terms of the ways that systems are currently operating, ours is going to be exceptionally secure, robust, unhackable, and gives people full authority over their data that they're contributing.
Yeah, decentralization in general makes it a lot more difficult to get denialists or get into the system and wreak havoc in there.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a system which has other privacy controls in place, like HIPAA compliance and FIRE, and there's a bunch of these other things that people use in the healthcare space. De-identifying the data, not letting the data talk to not the user and the data necessarily connect up to each other. I think that's the beauty of all this decentralized stuff too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. This wouldn't be as possible as it is without blockchain and just being able to get data that is stored without people involved, like you were saying, decentralized. Is this something that you're planning on doing in the US mainly, or are you planning on going worldwide? Or I know there's completely different regulatory issues. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we're going to conquer the world. We'll start off obviously in the US, but we've already had groups, China and Korea and Vietnam already talked to us about getting our system in place, because one of the things when you're dealing out in general countries outside the United States that are not really westernized medicine countries, so to speak, really have trouble getting healthcare down to the general population group, third world countries and whatever. I'm not saying that Korea is a third world country, but they understand that certain low income groups and whatever don't have access. And basically, you might not have access, but you probably have a cell phone, right? So a cell phone can be your kind of conduit towards not only integrating with us, but also integrating with the medical community in that particular country. As an example, in China, crypto, with the exception of Hong Kong, crypto is basically, you can't do it. It's not really allowed, but they're really interested in getting a blockchain platform up and going, to get healthcare information down to the individual user in a secure fashion that he wouldn't be able to get necessarily.
Okay, no, I think that's really helpful. And then could you talk a little bit about dates? And again, we're not going to hold you to these. We're not going to say, oh, hey, you told us this, but just an estimate. Are we 20 years away from this, or is it 3 months, or what's the dates that you guys see on some of this stuff rolling out?
Yeah, we will have basically a beta minimal viable MVP of our app, which is the major thing, October, November. So that'll be at least available. And the website, you'll be able to buy some stuff on the website. And the token launch is definitely going to be sometime this year, right? We're going out on Lattice and some other launchpad platforms soon, within the next few weeks. But the token launch will definitely be on a DEX or whatever, will be sometime at the end of this year.
Okay. And then last question, but maybe the most important, but if people want to get involved, if people are watching this like myself, and I'm like, hey, this is awesome, this could completely transform the industry, what's the best way for people to get more information? What's the best way for people to get involved, maybe financially?
I think they should call you. Call Jim.
Call James Felton. All right, there you go.
No, we definitely would love for people to follow us on our Twitter account. JennyCo Inc. is the Twitter handle. We have a Telegram channel as well. I think it's JennyCo Official. And then our website, JennyCo.com, plenty of ways for people to get involved there. That's also where we'll be announcing where we're going to be doing our token generation events. If people are interested in any of the pre-sale opportunities, I don't know how much is left, but they're welcome to reach out and ask about that as well through any of these channels, and we can direct them to the right people on our team. So yeah, we'd love for people to start jumping on to some of those networks and following us.
Okay, so follow on Twitter. I saw there's I think a newsletter on the website. So go to the website or a wait list to join that. Hop in the Telegram. If you're an institutional investor that really wants to get involved, maybe reach out and ask for some specific things. But then we're just waiting for the beta of the app and for the token launch. Is that kind of summing it up?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, hey, that was very helpful for me. That's kind of all the questions that I had. Did you have any final things that you think I didn't really touch on that would be good to kind of let my audience know about?
Oh, you really covered all the big bullet points there. So that was wonderful. Great.
I was really pushing for the name of the company to be Mikey Company.
You lost out. That happens. Jenny, I don't know if anyone's ever told you to. You look a lot like Christina Applegate.
Oh, that's so funny. I've heard that in the past. I haven't heard that recently, so I will take it. I think she's awesome. So thank you.
Yeah, she is. She's great. Hey, thank you guys so much for hopping on. I really appreciate this. Again, I've been hearing a lot about JennyCo, and so I'm excited for you guys and want to be part of the journey. Feel free to reach out if you guys need tweets or if you need it. Oh, hey, we need another video to announce our token launch. Just let me know, and happy to help how I can in your journey. So
thank you so much. This is wonderful. Really appreciate the support.
Really great. Thanks, Jim.
Yep. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Take care. You too.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that AMA with Jenny and Mike from JennyCo. Again, if you want to get involved, follow on Twitter, follow on Telegram, sign up for their newsletter. Now, there is this Gleam. I'll put a link to this to win one of the Genesis NFT whitelists. There's a bunch of things you can do to get entries into that, but the winner, the NFTs will produce some JennyCo tokens as a reward. And they will also, you'll get a free DNA testing kit that you can send in to be a part of that. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you're as excited about the whole Constellation network as I am. Please do hit like on your way out. Consider joining my membership if you would like to. We have a members only chat. We do members only videos. They're a lot of fun. But yeah, I appreciate all you guys and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.